Right. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. I am blank. Let me change my camera here. Let's see. I got this high-tech camera that gives me high-tech problems sometimes. There we go. And I should be floating in any second now. Hey, everybody. How you doing? Welcome to the Elite 100. Good to see. If you guys could pop your cameras on, that would be amazing. Hopefully you guys are having an amazing week. Why don't we get the energy going with some good wins? Nelson, what do you got for a win, brother?
I have more solid appointments on my calendar than I probably ever have in my entire career. So,
I know you guys, you're pushing, was it 1,000 or 100? I thought it was 1,000.
1,000,
Where are you guys at, you know?
little over 100. So,
Nice, nice.
an X time, right? And
Yeah,
I've got lots of good activity. I just went to a good trade show last week, so got a lot of marketing happening. So lots of positive momentum. Finishing
love it,
this year, and it's going to put us on a great pace right out of the gate in January.
love it, love it, love it. Mr. Marcari, what about you? What's a good win?
A good win is I don't know if you all know, but we're working with Antonio and Jeremy, helping us with I asked, and I found they have the perfect tool to help get Marcarian Electric, Boston and Florida on the same cohesive map. And working with those guys has been great. And I have full buy-in from the team on both sides. We have our twice a week meetings, and my win is what the future and how this is all going to turn out is my win, and it's looking good, looking good.
No, I love it. Two of your guys were on thinking of results last night, and they were just both raving about what you said. And it's the Empire system, so I know what you're talking about there. Yeah,
It is the Empire system, right?
Yeah.
Which it's a perfect solution for us. I know there's many out there, but it's perfect. Yeah.
Love it, love it, love it. Let's see. Mr. Len, what's a good win, brother?
I think my win is nothing specific, Brian. I think it's the fact that I have so many things coming upon my life. And whether you want to say they're good, bad, or indifferent, that's up to you. But for me, I see them all as experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm super blessed that I have the ability to accept what comes to me and understand it better than 3 or 5 years.
I say amen to that.
Perhaps that's a vague response, but it's been everything from super high level where I got to do my talk to super down or losing a good friend. So, but it's all good. It's all okay. It's all an experience. It is just that, an experience. And I can't dwell on that super high and I can't dwell on that super low because that's living in the past and I don't want to do that. So I'm accepting it and moving on.
I love that. And I think that's part of the community here and part of what we're going to chat about today. So I'm going to flip over to the mastermind principles, and I'd be curious to hear your opinion of my rendition here. I changed it up a little bit. I want to make it more of the matrix mastermind principles. And let me know what you guys think. So mastermind principles, I just wanted to start with a little bit of a prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this blessed day and for allowing us to come together in a spirit of harmony to mastermind for the benefit of all our mastermind members, our families, and for the good of mankind. We ask that you bless this mastermind group today and every day forward. We release ourselves to the mastermind because we are strong when we have others to help us. We believe the combined intelligence of the mastermind creates a wisdom far beyond our own. We understand that we will more easily create positive results in our lives when we are open to looking at ourselves, our challenges and opportunities from another's point of view. We decide to release our desire totally and trust to the mastermind and in God, and we are open to accepting new possibilities. We forgive ourselves for mistakes we have made. We also forgive others who have wronged us in the past so we can move forward into the future with a clean slate. We ask God and our mastermind family to hear what we really want, our goals, our dreams, and our desires, and we hear our mastermind partners supporting us in our fulfillment. We know, relax, and accept, believing that the working power of the mastermind through God, will respond to our every need. We are grateful knowing this is so. We now have a covenant in which it is agreed that the mastermind shall supply us with an abundance of all things necessary to live a success-filled and happy life. We dedicate ourselves to be of maximum service to the world and to our fellow human beings, to live in a manner that will set the highest example for others to follow, and to remain an open channel of God's will. We go forth with a spirit of enthusiasm, excitement, and expectancy. And one of the things I want to personally share with you guys is a little bit of my journey, and something that I've never done before that I want to do in front of all of you, which is really totally surrender myself, my relationship with Laura, my relationship with my daughter, my family, and my business relationships to God's will. I've been on this journey, and I think we all are, but I've never actually said the words out loud. It's something I say to myself. And as I continue down this path, I think it's important, especially as we grow this group, this Elite 100 group, to kind of get back to the basics of why we formed it and what a real mastermind actually is. So I pledge this company and everything that I do to be in service of God. And I thank you guys for listening to that. And it's a continuous journey. I think we're all kind of on that journey. And I'd love to use today a little bit to talk about your individual journeys, but also to get back to the basics of why we created the Elite 100, right? So at the top of the pillar, I would love for faith to be what we're really starting with. And I don't mean a certain religion. I just mean belief in God, whatever that means for you, and channeling through spirit, intellect, and body. I think in the past, I've allowed this group a little bit, myself, I'm guilty of like shiny object syndrome. It's super easy to get hung up on revenue streams and kind of focus on that first, which is that's a body, that's an action thing, right? That's a physical thing. Instead of moving from spirit to intellect to body. So it's faith, and then mindset, study, and then revenue streams. And hopefully you guys receive this as it's meant to be, but I think it's important for us to kind of get back to basics. And as I was looking at the actual mastermind principles that were written by Napoleon Hill, and people, used to mastermind with like Henry Ford and some really, strong leaders of the world. So we're doing a lot of this, right? We meet regularly, weekly if possible. I don't know any other mastermind groups that I'm a part of that meet weekly. We're the only one that I know of. So we get that. If you're in different cities, you could be on a Zoom. Start by reading the mastermind principles. And that's how I wanted to massage them up a little bit, kind of make them our own. And I'm open to suggestions too. Maybe I'll send them out to everybody, and you guys can take a look at them and see if there's things we're missing. And then to take turns reading those principles week after week. It says each member should be supported visually, verbally, and emotionally. And a good example, and this just came to me, by the way, the other day I was talking to Eric Markarian, and he's looking to move a property. But in my mind, I'm like, well, I don't want to just pray for Eric to move the property. I want to pray for the right person to buy it, and that they have a good experience, and that was their dream, and that's their connection. So kind of both sides of the equation. And I think we do this well, but it's something that we can certainly increase, right? I think we do pretty good with this, but we could tighten it up. It's 60 minutes. We're pretty good about that. I think we have a good flow of what we're offering, and I'm open to suggestions there because we can always get better. Roll call. I mean, that's we can't mandate that everybody shows up every week, and it's not fair to. It's your mastermind, and sometimes people have flights, or there's just certain things you can't avoid. But by and large, we always talk about being part of a mastermind is showing up to serve each other. There's a commitment to it. So I would definitely like to work on that as much as we can. And then the good news, the sharing of the wins, right? That's what we do to bring the vibration up. And then we get into wants and needs and the other things. So I wanted to share and kind of get back to the core pillars of faith and community and mindset, integrity, transparency. And then we get into goals and hot seats and business development and things of that nature, just to make sure that we're going in the natural flow. It says right in there to be an open channel of God's will, doesn't it? And that's something that I think that I could be doing better. And when I look backwards on the past, like 4 years of the Elite, I can do better at not getting distracted on like shiny objects and just staying, true to everybody here. So I would love to hear some individual stories on some of the things you guys do to stay connected to source, or your aha moments, your journeys of how. Let me back up a minute. A good friend of mine, Matt Payne, has a very specific story, very specific time when he literally just knelt down at his bed and surrendered to God. Like, he had a lot of stuff happening and he just had that moment. And then everything from there shifted. So does anybody have anything like that where they can really go back to, that time, or their journey of how that happened for you? Greg?
Yeah, it actually just happened 5 minutes ago. So one of the
Wow.
things that was placed on my heart about being faithful stewards of our money is the fact that we should be giving, not just being generous givers, but of course, excellent receivers as well. But the main thing is I just dropped off a check to an entity that, we support, and it just became more real. And I think it's just, there's that reciprocation where you don't give with the expectation of getting more back, but it's synergy with the universe, and synergy with being faithful. And I think that's a huge part of what you're just talking about, because just that message came to me just this weekend. And it's very powerful. So that's how we're doing. We're being faithful stewards of our money by giving and helping.
No, I love that. And Greg, I got to ask you something. And I know you quite a long time now. I know that the man you are and your family, and how good are you at allowing people to help and give to you?
So one of the things I did about a month ago is I just sort of surrendered and asked, because I'm generally a giver in many ways. However, I very, father of 5, young kids, you're always giving, right? And so your life is all about that. But I surrendered and just asked, can I be an excellent receiver? Just this 1 week, it was about 4 weeks ago. And lo and behold, like, I just became an excellent receiver that week. And so I think it's super important to just be mindful, not just to be giving, which many of us, of course, on this call do, but to also in a state of receiving too, which is, that's a massive part of it, right? Is to be an excellent receiver as well. Because so much of our lives are about giving, but it's also about receiving too. So you can then in turn give, right? So it's that reciprocation for sure.
Well, let me ask you this. I'm just curious for my own, because I tend to be the same way. I tend to give. And what did you do to open up the channel for receiving? Was it just prayer and meditation, or?
Well, it's interesting because I said, I expect to receive this week.
Aha.
And it was just like, all right, like literally like expect miracles, like we say it all the time, but it just was not. Just in this particular case, it was just not a saying. It was like a feeling, like an intimate, like strong feeling of like being the recipient of something. It was like 3 massive things. It wasn't like some little thing. And it was awesome. And so I encourage all of you just to surrender to that receiving mode, because it's you gives, I think there's that saying is like, give without remembering, receive without forgetting. And I think there's just that was very powerful for me several weeks ago.
No, I think the general theme of this group here specifically is everybody here is definitely givers. I know each one of you individually, and there's no challenge here with everybody here giving. So the concept of receiving is something we can work on together. So I love that. Maddie, what about you?
If we're still on the topic of sharing the question you asked at the beginning. So I'll share mine. I was kind of forced into mine. And I think God kind of finds you when you don't have choices, or when you feel like you don't have choices. And so you tend to lean on the man upstairs for answers when you don't have anyone else to go to, or you don't feel like you do. And mine, I had been really struggling with anxiety for like a lot of my little life. Then it went away, and then it really came back like my mid-20s, 25, 26, up until last year. And those of you that were in Chicago, I shared a little bit with you about my downward spiral, and how like I kind of drew a line in the sand. That was my first kind of encounter with with God, where it was like, this is your choice. And I got that knowingness that came in the form of no other, just a normal thought, but I knew it was a different kind of thought. Sounded just like my own thoughts, but I knew it was different. And it was like, this is your choice. You can go up or you can continue to go down based off of the thoughts that you're thinking. And your alignment with me. Like, you've been very far away from me, Madison. You need to come back to me. And that just means keeping your eyes steadfast on what it is that you want and what it is that you're going after. So easy to get distracted. Even though we all know this information, it's really easy to let yourself think lazy thoughts. So that was my first kind of encounter. My second was my anxiety had come back a little bit after that moment. I never had the suicidal thoughts again that I shared with some of you at the event. But the anxiety was still like there, like it was playing with me. If you guys have ever like danced with negative thoughts, it's like this dance that you do. You don't really want to think them, but you think them anyway. And you don't really want to think them, but you think them and they creep in, you kick them out, but they creep back in. It's like this weird dance. And I was really sick of it. I got tired of it. I ended up ordering anxiety medication online through Nurx, or hers, him and hers, or hers, whatever. You get anxiety medication shipped directly to your house now without a doctor's real prescription. It's crazy. But it came into my house. It was sitting on my sink for like 3 days, and I just could not take the anxiety medication because I'm very like holistic, organic. I don't like taking medication. Got off all hormonal birth control. Like, I don't like anything foreign really in my body. And so it was really hard for me to face the fact that I might have to take anxiety medication to really get rid of it. And every time I went to go put it in my hand to take it, I just didn't. Like, I just couldn't. It was the craziest thing. I could not take it. I could not put this damn thing in my mouth. So I didn't take it. Finally, I was like, the dance isn't going to stop unless I get an answer one way or the other. So I took the medication. Before I took the medication, it was the first time I ever got down on my knees in my bathroom in Atlanta. I was like, this is my first prayer out loud. I was like, dear God, if this is meant for me, make it known. If it's not, make it clear, make it abrupt. I said abrupt. I was like, make it abrupt. Because I didn't want to dance with anxiety anymore. Took the medicine, went to sleep, woke up in like sweats, hot, sweating, middle of the night, went back to sleep, woke up in the morning and got violently, abruptly ill. Not to be TMI, but it was an abrupt illness that I experienced, and I don't get sick. And I got my answer, like right in that moment. And I think that God only talks to you in a way that you know you receive it, in a way that only you could understand. So me saying this to you, you might be like, well, do I have to go pray before I throw up and then get my answer? No, it's going to come to you in a way that makes sense to you. And that was the last time that I had any anxiety in terms of my life or my success or my future. You know, I still experience the normal stressors or the normal pressure anxieties that are normal and natural and healthy, but no longer do I experience the kind of anxiety that makes me doubt myself or question my future or why I'm here. So that's mine.
No, I love that. And there's a difference between experiencing resistance, a healthy resistance, or, you know, a very negative,
like an obsessive negative thought pattern.
Yeah, exactly. So no, I love that. One of the things I noticed too, I've been really focused. I talked to Ivan about this and Maddie when we're building the matrix, you know, #1 lifestyle enhancement company in the world. Like, what does that look like? And this group here it's a top down, like this is the group, a lot of you are even advisors or investors helping us design and grow this thing globally. And I saw myself getting caught up on just trying to build the Elite 100, right? Because it's our top tier thing. Now, that's only helping a handful of people. Meanwhile, we have like Mindset Masters, No One Left Behind, $39 a month, where we could have millions of people. And that's the intent of it. So I've noticed, my mechanical, intellectual side, kind of moving more towards the business side of it versus what I really want is for this company to help, all the craziness going on in the world. And this group here, you probably don't know this, but what you guys are doing here funds our lower tier program. We lose money on those, right? So having you guys here, having the inner circle and kind of TIR and up helps to fund entry level and all the free stuff we do. So God bless everybody for that. And you might not have known that. All right, I wanted to ask you a question because I know you've been faithful for a long, long time. And I know you even went out and did some really neat things. You stood on Jesus's tomb, right? Is that correct?
I didn't stand on. I served on a mass. We performed a mass, an Orthodox mass on his tomb, and I was the deacon serving the priest doing the mass.
Mm.
Probably the most humbling, the most fulfilling moment of my life. No matter what I've done in my life, it topped it all.
Mm.
And believe it or not, those of you who know me fairly well, I couldn't talk till 3. There was 3 a.m. I couldn't talk till noontime or 1 o'clock.
Oh, just physically unable to.
It's very unusual for me. So,
And what has your journey been? Is this something in your teens, 20s, 30s, 40s? Like, when did you really connect?
religiously, I've been serving the altar since I was 7 years old. Obviously, in the beginning, not knowing much, well, not understanding much. But then, as years went by, I was dismayed or unhappy with the organized. I can't believe I'm saying this. With the organized church, I'm I get much more fulfillment with praying on my own or being in church on my own, praying versus in the altar. I miss the altar a lot. Trust me, I haven't been on the altar for 3 years. I miss being there because of some stupid issues in the church. But I without the theatrics, I'm getting a lot more fulfillment in my life. To answer your question, it's all my whole life, but now with a bit of wisdom that I've gained in my 60 years of life, I'm understanding more and more. I think I'm understanding more and more. I still know nothing about life or about religion or about anything else. That I'm done for sure. I still want to learn.
Before Bob passed, he had been studying every single day for 63 years, and he said he was just scratching the surface and in connection to God, right? And when you study Bob, he kind of sprinkles it in, but I know why he didn't really go like full force like into religion, because it's confusing, right? There's all kinds of different religions all over the world, and what he's really looking to do is connect people without them knowing. That's what happened with me. He led me down this path of like, oh, universal physics. Yeah. Interesting. I'm an engineer. Physics makes sense, right? Cause and effect, transmutation of energy, law of rhythms. And then then he connects you to like Neville Goddard and the people that are into theology. And then you see more things getting sprinkled in. Then you understand it's like, well, something grows an acorn into an oak tree. Well, that's life force. That's God. And he has my opinion, a really good way over a period of time of bringing me all the way around to understand that spirit is first, intellect, body, and expression. So I'm just curious to hear, people's journeys. And
final thought, if I may.
Sure.
The universe, God, whatever you want to call it, everybody can call it whatever they want. The supreme power that's up there, I call him God. It's funny how he does things, or he makes things happen when, as you've said, as Bob has preached, when we surrender. There are a lot of times that I've succeeded when I didn't expect anything, but when I pushed and cried for something and begged for something, as you say in your prayers, you don't never ask, you always thank. It always happens. So we know this, yet we fall back on the stuff that we've learned for the past X amount of years that we've been alive. So it's been very tough for me, as Lenny said, putting things and expecting things from life in boxes, and it just doesn't happen. It happens when it's going to happen and how it's going to happen, but it will happen, not a question. That's all.
Well, part of what we were talking about before, and this is more of what I want to understand with this group and work towards, right? Because I think we've all had this happen. but there's principles behind this, right? Like force negates. You can't force this entity. You have to let. We talk about let go and let God. That's the same thing as surrendering, right? It's like doing our part and having faith. So yeah, whenever we're like begging or pleading or please God, that's not it. That's never going to work, right? And I think we've all probably been in scenarios where we do that versus getting back to the understanding of connection and getting in harmony, right? And we don't think about, like, you're not going to go to the top of a building and jump off of it. Like, you would never do that, right? That's one of God's laws. It's a universal law. But we do things like this. We forget how to connect and pray or ask or whatever that is, and then we're in a mode of begging, or we're saying, please send me. In the same words, we're saying, I don't have, which is not in harmony. So it's just really wild how it all works. And one person I've never talked to at a deep level about this is Mr. Ivan Ans. And you're somebody that I see from the outside that's extremely connected to source, without doing a whole lot of crazy studying, or maybe you have, but I'd be curious to hear, your journey and some of the things you do, and your concept of what this is as well.
Thank you, Brian, and thank you all for letting me sharing here. I think that the path that we are taking now with, we had this conversation on Friday of taking the company back to principles and fundamentals and so on, is very important, because my personal belief or knowingness is that life is a flow, and that we are all connected some way or another. And as you know, I have this principle of the laws of betterment, similar to the law that is in my book. I sent a copy of my book to all of you guys in the past, or the ones that were with me in Tennessee, right? But and in my book that I talk about the laws of betterment, and similar to the natural law of when something drops, I forgot the English word, the gravity law. So basically, I really perceive that we are all connected. And so when my neighbor is in a better situation, in a better condition, I will be in a better condition. If my wife is in a better condition, I will be in a better condition. If China is in a better condition, the US should be in a better condition. If the US is in a better condition, Canada should be in a better condition. It's just a natural law. So when you have that base, that stable information in your mind, all that you wake up with the intention to do so is how I can be better in others' lives today, because that will improve not also my life, but other people's life. How I can be a flow together with the life flow. And this has to do a lot with the mindset of adding value to others and adding value to every single interaction you have. But the other important thing, Brian, is about the flow of life, and not getting, the difference between a reach and a flow, right? Or a stop or a flow is basically, you call it the law of non-resistance, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So I always think like, okay, I have these, like, for example, if I ask you what's the color of my hair, can you answer?
Like dark brown or black?
Yeah, exactly. You didn't need to think in order to answer that question. So I believe that when we start thinking for what we know already, and start operating more on thinking than knowing for what the things we already know, we don't need to think if we know, right? Then we go a little bit off that God path. So when we remain in that channel, it becomes it becomes much more powerful, and it improves everybody else's life around. And what I have, Brian, if you will like, and I don't know now or at the end, is remember that my friend John Maxwell that I shared with you when we were in Puerto Rico, how he lived his life on a daily basis. I think this is perfect for us to show this 4 minutes conversation from him.
Yeah, if you could bring it up, we'll do that. I would love that, actually, and we could even put it in the group and maybe in the portal. So yeah, if you want to cue that up, that would be
I have it here. I have it.
Awesome. We'll do that right at the end. And I love that. I love that. Yeah, because John Maxwell is definitely somebody who's lived what I would call a heavenly life and walked the path of leadership and just, man, talk about a giver. He's just an amazing leader. So Trey, you came in halfway through. The subject of today is really surrendering to God and some of the moments in our life when we've done that. If maybe you have certain specific things that happen when you really remember, like taking the next leap or the leap of faith or the next step. If you have anything you want to share, which we're just kind of going around doing that.
Wow, that's a loaded question. I love it though. And I totally agree. What we resist persists. And yeah, I've many experiences. And the short version of this story is, I mean, I can't help but think of the most impactful, where, I was a kid somewhere between 3rd and 4th grade, and I was short, overweight, had a mullet, had terrible skin, awful teeth, just layers of insecurity. And I remember I prayed. I said, God, if you ever give me Ashley, I will do my best to give her the best life that any man ever could. But it seemed impossible, truly impossible. I was, very much in the friend zone, wasn't looking good. But then what I did, Brian, is instead of letting fear keep me from taking action, I took faith-based action and I ran. I literally ran my butt off for a year, every night of 8th grade from midnight to 2 a.m. And I listened to Tony Robbins and I read How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I just went to work on myself and I did a year's worth of work, all of 8th grade. Finally, 9th grade rolls around. I'm 14, she's 15. And I finally built up the confidence to ask her out. And she says yes. And we date for 7.5 years to the day of our wedding. And now we've got 16 years of marriage and 4 beautiful children. And I still, that 7th grade version of me that, just said, hey, God, if you give me Ashley, I'll give her the best life any man ever could, was the prayer. It was a moment of surrender and serenity, truly, to just let it go, but then to do the work and to actually take a year of just working on myself. And it absolutely changed. My entire life has changed from that prayer, that surrender, that work. And so that applies not only personally, but professionally as well. But that's what it made me think of when you asked.
No, I love that, because before you came out, we were talking about kind of getting back to the core principles of what this mastermind is about. And it really is, it's spirit, then intellect, then body, right? It's connection to God, then it's mindset study. And we study a lot of things together. And then there's the physical part. So yeah, it's not enough to just surrender and sit on the couch, is it? Right? So the massive action part of it, a faith-based massive action, has to come into place. And I've always been a massive action taker, but it wasn't always faith-based action. I didn't even know what that was, right? So it was just action. So which, you can get some stuff done by action alone, I guess, but certainly not quantum leaps and moving mountains type of stuff. So thanks for sharing that. I love it. I love it. Nelson, what about you, bud? You remember way back to the first experience was?
Yeah, kind of. I was raised Catholic, and so everything was very religious. Very, very, very much it was just what you do. And so, having worked with Chris for, over 20 years, we prayed one day, and I, surrendered to God and to Jesus. And it was really a special moment, because everything became real. And then when I say real, it was the relationship that was there. It wasn't the actions. It wasn't the activity. It wasn't the earning. It was the grace of the surrender, right? Which is the gospel. And so that was my experience. And there was never a trauma. There was never an issue. You know what I mean? So I've been very fortunate. Had an amazing life, lots of love throughout my entire life. But still, that moment was special, right? Because you realize that there's a lot more than just the earthly relationships that you have. And then, you know, as I've matured and grown older, one of the things that I find fascinating and just completely awesome, and we've touched on this, you know, a couple of times before in our conversations, but the more faith you have, the higher level of gratitude you should operate in. For these conversations, thinking into results, you know, the fact that our God, our creator, is abundant, our creator is limitless. So whatever you want, you can think and you can have and you can co-create with God. I think that's an amazing thing. And the more faith you have in that, the easier it becomes. And then when you think about that grand scheme of that, it's absolutely so easy to have gratitude that we live such an experience with such a high level of awareness.
Beautifully said. And I love what Trey says, right? We're a multitude of miracles experiencing a multitude of miracles. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Sinking in. Eric, what about you? When you and I have known each other not too long, we've gotten really, really close really quick, including the conversation the other day. And you're somebody that just I see from the outside in a constant state of gratitude, and just I don't think I've ever seen you upset.
Yeah, I don't get upset because it's not worth it. Doesn't help anything, right? So I had a good example. My dad, I have never heard my dad swear.
Oh,
ever,
wow.
Ever. And he doesn't get upset. And wasn't it one in some of the curriculum, whenever something happens, I don't remember what lesson it was, but the guy would say, "Oh, that's good."
Yes, I forget who it is, but Sam something.
Jocko Willink. Jocko Willink.
Yeah.
Like, oh, such and such happened. That's good.
It's good.
Now what are we going to do? Right? Like, let's create a plan. Let's respond appropriately. So my dad had that mental attitude, and I learned a lot from him. And my kids have never heard me swear. Like, I don't swear ever. Right? I think it's just in the Bible it says to not have, coarse talk and vulgar this and that. So I mean the whole culture swears, but I have chose personally just to be calm and cool. And so that's who I am. I live my life on a daily basis of gratitude and stewardship. And I feel so thankful that God has placed me here to do his work. And so what I believe is that there's amazing power in surrender. And when we realize that there's a loving God, he's showering us with blessings, and we're here just doing his will and raising our kids, and that's a blessing. And my goal for our kids is that they can have a relationship with God, and that I can teach them the laws that God has put in place, right? And that's what living in the flow means, is it's identifying the rules that God placed, like gravity, and all of the laws in the curriculum are all these things that God created. So that's, like I said, there's amazing power in surrender and understanding that we're stewards. We're going to die with zero, right? We die with zero assets. You can't take it with you. And so I just love the fact that he gave each one of us different talents, right? Everybody has different talents, different skills that we're innately born with. And that we're going to, use our skills, refine them, continue to grow. It's just an amazing journey that we're on. So that's
so are you somebody more like you were like born it, like as far back as you can remember, your dad was a certain way, he passed it on to you and sort of passed on the belief system, or was it something you came into in your 20s, 30s?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in a Christian home, and I knew what it was, but it didn't slap me on the face till our oldest daughter was born, and I knew about it all, right? And then when our oldest daughter was born, I really realized that it's time to get serious about things. And so, and you know, we're unashamedly Christians, right? We believe that there's a creator, and it's God, and we identify him and follow him, and it's just a freeing experience. And I agree with some of what Ara said and Nelson. You get caught up in all the there's a difference between religion and spirituality.
Yeah.
Right. Religion is what man has done and how he's formed this and made a lot of rules. You read the gospel, it's amazingly freeing, right? It's amazingly freeing. Freedom from sin and guilt. But I think that man has messed it up. Like, God created a perfect world. He created a perfect world. And the first thing that Adam and Eve did is mess it up. And it's still messed up. But, you know, so it's truly a sinful, messed up place. Look what's happening in Israel and with Hamas and China. And God created a perfect, and man messed it up. But God's still there for us to look towards. And we understand that we're all just we're here for just a short time, right? What are we going to do with it? We can do amazing things with it. So I really appreciate, you know, being a part of this group, because it's opened my mind to just identifying the ways that we can grow individually, and all the powerful things that we have at our disposal to focus on and to accomplish. So.
No, well said, well said. And one of the things that's really come to me is like the purpose of the matrix, right? Getting back to the base principles, and I see us as a conduit, as a kind of like Bob was for me, because I didn't grow up with heavily religious parents or any kind of my parents are divorced, 2 years old. It is what it is. But to me, it's a shame that you get 40, 50 years old and just kind of connecting the dots with some of this stuff. But I've been an expert in universal laws, which are God's laws, but just it's looking at it from a different lens. And I think one thing we can do in the matrix as we grow globally is to be that conduit for people to come into something. It's like, oh, that makes sense. Well, that makes sense. Well, that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. And next thing you know, they're connected to God. They're connected to source, because you're not going from no thing to source. Which was just really confusing for me. So that's how I see, this group leading from the top down, and sort of the evolution of the matrix as we grow globally with Ivan and Maddie and everybody here is being that connector, that conduit. So well said. Who else remembers back? Anybody else kind of remember back to how you got connected, or any stories about that before we move on? Oh, good. Ivan, go ahead.
I agree with Eric 100%. Just to prove the point, Napoleon Bonaparte said, "Man created religion to have something else to fight about." So, Eric, you're 100% right.
Love it. Well said. Ivan, you want me to give you a screen share, bud?
Yes, Brian. And I was thinking, also, you know what it came to mind, and you can tell me which route you want me to go. But around, I will say, 10 years ago, I started becoming much more interested on this concept of treating others as you would like to be treated. But it's so, and it's so simple. Just around that. And if you think about it, what God will want, whatever you call God, universe, God, Christ, or whoever is that supreme being for you, the pinnacle, right? It will be that every single action that we do is treating others as you would like to be treated. So I went into that path, and I discovered a little moral code that a friend gave to me. And there is a video actually of 10 minutes that is called "Treat Others as You Would Like to Be Treated." and it's beautiful. So I just remember that, so I can share that line.
Why don't you put that one in the chat, and then we can look at it. And so you guys are probably hearing this. That is lesson 11 in thinking in the results, the impression of increase. The impression of increase, right? And for those of you who want, we're actually starting again at lesson 1 on Monday, thinking in the results. So if you want to take that journey again, you guys always have access to that. And it's interesting how Bob put these 12 lessons together, and that certain ones touch on spirit and faith, certain ones touch on intellect, and then certain ones touch on the physical. So yeah, lesson 11 is the impression of increase. So
okay, I will, Brian, I will add this. You want me to do the treat others video? Or you want me to
if you want to
values?
play why don't you play the John Maxwell one, because it's like 4 minutes and that's quick, and then the other one you can put inside the WhatsApp group and Valerie can get it.
Or we do another in another chat. Okay, good. So can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
If you want 2019 to be the year that you really want to be, here's the secret of making it a great year. If you want 2019 to be the year that you really want to be, here's the secret of making it a great year. I'll guarantee it, if you'll just do what I'm about to share, it's just going to set you up for an incredible 2019. Every day, serve someone. Every day. Every day, add value to people. Every day, serve one. Every day, live the intentional life of doing for others, sometimes what they cannot do for themselves. And if you will put people first and add value to them and serve them, it becomes absolutely amazing what you and I are going to have and achieve, how we're going to help people, and in return, how it comes back to us. Benjamin Franklin said this: "No one is useless in this world who lightens the burden of someone else." If you're helping someone else lift a load in your life, you become a very useful person. Mahatma Gandhi said that the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. But perhaps on this kind of a theme, my favorite quote is from Albert Schweitzer, who said, "I don't know what your destiny will be, but one thing I do know. The only ones among you who will be really happy are those who have sought and found how to serve." The happiest people are not always the most successful people, but they're the ones who serve the best. I've met a lot of unhappy, successful people, haven't you? But I've never met an unhappy person that gave their life of serving and giving and adding value to other people. Martin Luther King Jr. said, everybody can be great because everybody can serve. If you will help people get what they want, then you'll receive everything that you need in life. We got to work at this. If 2019 is going to be an incredible year, you're going to have to look at the year and say to yourself, what can I do to add value to people instead of what are people going to do to add value to me? What can I do to serve people instead of, I wonder who in this next year is going to serve me? We're going to have to do a complete mind shift in that whole process. Service over status. You know, there are two kinds of people. There are the people that do what is right and then feel good, and there are some people who want to feel good before they do what is right. And if you want to feel good before you ever do what is right, you and I will not do a lot of things right, because we'll let our emotions control it. But the moment that we say, no, I'm going to do the right thing, and then I'll let the emotion follow. Character over comfort. Now here's the key. If you and I are going to make 2019 a great year of serving people, let me tell you, the first thing's going to happen to you, the first thing's going to happen is we're going to be inconvenienced. Because when you have to serve people, they don't do it on your time schedule. Sometimes people say, well, I don't know if I could do that. I don't even know if I have those kind of... Listen to me. The moment that we really have a desire to add value to other people, our whole life will begin to change. And so if 2019 is going to be the year that we really want to make it, I'm going to share with you right now 5 things I do every day. And I want you to do them every day in this year. And I will promise you, your life is about to incredibly change. And all 5 of these things I'm going to give you right now, you can do them. These aren't hard. These aren't complicated. Every day, number one, every day I value people. And that's the foundation of everything we're talking about. If I don't value people, I'll never add value to them. I'll manipulate them. I'll do all kinds of bad things. But it all begins with valuing people. Number 2, every day I think of ways to add value to people. In other words, I'll look at my schedule in the morning, and I'll say where I'm going to go, who I'm going to see perhaps, and I'll say, okay, what can I do to add value to those people? I think of ways to add value to people. Number 3, every day I look for ways to add value to people. Number 4, every day I do things that value people. Every day. In fact, at the end of the day, the last thing I do every evening is I do a 10-minute inventory of my day. And one of the questions I ask is, who did I add value to today? Who did I serve today? Okay? Every day. Every day. I value people. Think of ways to add value to people. Look for ways to add value to people. Do things that add value to people. And number 5, I encourage others to add value to me. I do those 5 things every day.
Well, I think that was certainly an amazing way to wrap up a good mastermind. Ivan, can you please share that in the group? That's something I think I'm personally going to listen to every morning. That was I've heard that before. It's been a long time since I've heard it. And yeah, imagine if this whole group here every single day for 2024, played that, lived by it. Interesting challenge. So yeah, thanks for sharing that, Ivan. I appreciate it. If you could put that in the group, that'd be awesome. Anybody have any last comments, concerns, questions before we wrap up?
I definitely needed this meeting.
Same.
Huge value from you. Thank you.
No,
Thank
good. Good. I'm glad it landed well with everybody. I'm glad it received well. And I want to keep building this group with the highest transparency, integrity, faith, and just really of service and helping other people. So I'm glad it landed well, everybody.
So Brian, quick, super short story here. I just, I can't help but remember my son, 10 years old. He's sick. He's got a headache and a stomach ache. He's in the room above me, trying to go to sleep, but he's just in pain and just in agony, real agony. And of course we said a prayer, and I just said, Maddox, I want you to remember how you feel right now, because right now you don't have your health. It's gone. But tomorrow you're going to wake up and hopefully you feel a lot better. And when you do, I want you to remember how you feel right now, how painful it is, how your head hurts, how your stomach hurts, because when you have your health back, you're going to be so grateful for it. Sure enough, the next morning he runs downstairs. Dad, oh my goodness, I feel so much better. The pain's gone. Is that wow, I'm so grateful for my health. I'm so grateful for my health. For 10 years, Maddox never said anything about his health. And ever since then, he says often, because we always ask our kids when we go to bed at night, what's something you're grateful for? And he says 4 or 5 times a night, I'm so grateful for my health, because he temporarily, he went one night without it so that he can have a lifelong gratitude for his health, because he knows what it's like not to have it. So because we experience pain and then we get our health back in one way, shape, or form, we can surrender and just say, you know what, I'm going without right now, but I'm going to have my health back in this area of my life. And when I do, I'm going to be so grateful for it. So I just wanted to share that real quick.
It's a great story, great message, brother. I appreciate you sharing that. Perfect ending to a perfect mastermind. Have a great week, everybody. Be well. God bless. We'll see you soon.
Bye, amigos.
Hi, everybody.
See you, brother.
Yeah.
Sure. Bye.